Chest. Pretty solid right now.
This is getting flying saucers. Oh, look! Wait, they have they have wipes.
I've got wipes in the trunk. Do we need wipes?
No.
You're showing them to Kevin.
They have wipes. They don't have sound, but they have wipes. Oh, look.
Priorities.
Oh no. What they're doing? No. What they're doing is they're explaining to people that if you come up and ask a question, there's a wipe right here.
Oh.
So first you take a wipe out, then you wipe the mic, then you talk, and that's it. See?
You know they're going to have to explain that when they get
This has all been done in the form of mimery, because apparently we're in France.
Okay. I don't know how you got all that, but I'm in.
Sure. You going to go up there and ask?
And
are they gonna let randoms?
when you're talking in the mic, well, how else are they gonna get the questions?
This is your Connor screen. Run up there.
It's our only comment screen. I can't ask Kevin some questions.
You want to ask him for his name tag?
No, I don't have a question.
I'll tear up, man. Because there's only one thing I want to talk to him about, and it's Jane Silent Bob Get Old.
So the other thing is that because of the mimery with the mic, I'm assuming that you have to act like you're trapped in a box when you ask the question as well.
Okay.
1, 2, 3,
Check it in,
4,
Mike.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I feel like I should be using this opportunity because, you know, I've got everybody's ears because you're all stuck in your cars, but I'm just going to keep giving out numbers instead. 1, 2,
What are the winning lottery numbers?
69, bro.
5.
Hey, and he's on the
6,
screen too.
7.
We stopped giving numbers. Now, let's see if his mimery was as good as if I got it right. Because I'm sure he's going to tell us now. This music sounds like old school, like Zelda game. Like
No, don't you ever say that.
It sounds like when you hit something.
No,
it sounds like when you hit something.
It does not.
It sounds like when you hit
No, it
something,
doesn't.
like the old school video games.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not.
Oh, that was a quick change.
What's up,
Hey.
What's up, Moobys kid?
So, Josh,
Well, that's
that
on-
me and the nuts, whoever else comes in, copy.
What? Did you say me and the nuts or me and the nuts?
Me and whoever else comes on.
Am I talking?
Me and whoever. Okay. I
Hey,
said-
check.
So he's just on the right side.
If you guys can hear me, make some noise.
Sweet.
I said make some noise, not scare the shit out of me. Oh my. Okay, guys, without further ado, I want to say thank you for coming to Kevin's 50th birthday. We took over a drive-in and you guys helped us do it. That is fucking wild.
Somebody's on a delay.
Okay, keep honking or maybe stop for 2 seconds. All right, couple things really quick.
Quit honking.
All right. We got the Moobys booth and food truck going right now. Tons of random merchandise signed by Kevin, Jane, Silent Bob stuff. Make your way over there before you leave, okay? And then we've got cow dongs, aka movie hot dogs, over there, all the good stuff. So we want you guys to come see us before you take off. It's one of many things going on. I want to remind you, stay in your car during the film, stay in your car during the Q&A, okay? If you're gonna go to the bathroom, keep your mask on. If you're gonna come buy some merch or food, please keep your mask on. We're gonna do this and we're gonna be safe, having a good time. Next, if you're hearing this, you probably already know, but tune in to 90.1 FM to listen to this. Okay, I want to introduce some people, some special individuals that come out here right now. Okay. No worries. So,
They cut him.
sure, if we were gonna be able to pull this thing off, right? We put it on sale, and within 24 hours, look at this. This place is packed. So I want to say thank you guys for coming out. If you haven't heard, We've extended Movies a little bit longer. We weren't gonna do it, but you know, you guys asked enough. We didn't want to make Kevin Smith cry, so we extended Movies. Second, if you haven't heard, we're doing Gold Belly packages. So you want Movies, we're gonna send it to your house or anybody else in the United States. Other than that, when you guys take off tonight, please be safe. Out the exit, make sure you clean up your trash around your car. If you want to sit on your car in the back of it during the film, that is fine as well. But what we ask again is please stay in your car if you don't need to be leaving. And if you leave, keep your mask on. If you're getting stuff in line, socially distance for us, please. All right, great. So, without further ado, I'm gonna bring some special people out, but one more time before we get going, as weird as it is, because I can't hear a fucking thing, can you guys make some noise so we know you can still hear us? Oh my god. That is too cool. Too cool. Alright. I want to bring out some friends right now who are going to help us say happy birthday to the man himself. Without further ado, the most special ladies in Mr. Kevin Smith's life, Jen and Harley, come on out, ladies. There's
Some honks.
one right here
Some honks.
for
Some
ya.
honks.
Oh yeah.
What's the face shield? Oh, now can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming to my dad's 50th birthday celebration. We're so excited that you're all here. And before he comes out, let's just sing a happy birthday for him, if you'll join me. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kevin. Happy birthday to you.
Go, 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 go.
Give it up for the girl.
Kevin's like, screw the
Thank
mask.
you, ladies. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. This is awesome. This is the first time I think we were driving out here, and I was like, I don't think we've ever done a drive-in event. We've done outdoor screenings in Red Bank. We showed Clerks on a big blow-up screen once with Netflix. I had a screening of Clerks like back in '94 at Woodstock 2. But I don't think I've ever done a drive-in. So tonight, this is huge, man. This is the first time we've ever done something like this. So welcome. I want to thank the good folks at Moobys, Derek, Andre, Chef Royce, for bringing this to life. Not only did they bring the food, but this whole shindig came together real fast because like Derek made it happen. So thanks to them. Thanks to the folks here shooting tonight, Josh and Liv, who are always making sure that I'm seen wherever I am and stuff like that. Thank you, of course, to Luke and Julian for all their help putting this together. Jordan for making it all happen and whatnot. Jen and Harley for coming out and bringing a cake. And all of you for making the trip, man, because let's be honest, in these harried times, you literally risked your life to go to a fucking Kevin Smith party. Time to prioritize, kids. This is cool for me. As we were driving, I was trying to remember what my first drive-in experience was, and I had Jen like looking things up online because there's two. To me, it's either Jaws. I always think it's Jaws, but then I also think it is the Land That Time Forgot, which is a movie that I went and saw with my cousin. Pretty sure it was Jaws. My parents had pre-seen it, and then they decided to take their kids to the drive-in to see it. And everything in that movie that like you could see that would terrify a 5-year-old kid, they let it all slide. The one thing they didn't let me see was when they were doing the autopsy, and they lifted Matt Hooper lifts the shroud over, and you see body parts. They made me close my eyes for that. Fucking shark eating people, they were like, look at that. And we lived in a beach town, so it fucking ruined me for life. But the other movie that I saw in the drive-in, second one, was Land That Time Forgot. It was like stop motion fucking dinosaur picture and shit. And I went with my cousin Johnny and his parents and his sister. So my Aunt Judy, my Uncle John, Big John, son was my cousin, my bestie at the time when I was like 4 or 5, and Rachel, his sister. So Aunt Judy made a bunch of fucking sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, packed a big lunch. I'm sure like a lot of people brought like go bags and kits full of food and drinks and stuff for the car. They did the same thing, big fucking picnic basket and whatnot. So it's me and Rachel and Johnny in the back seat, and we're going ape shit because we're like, oh, fucking land the top of God, like dinosaurs and shit. So can't wait to get there. Me and Johnny are big monster movie buffs, so this is going to be huge for us. Pull in the movies and previews. And I said to Aunt Judy, I was like, can I get one of them sandwiches? And she said, yeah, reach in the back. They're in the back. And so I reached in the back, and they were in tinfoil, and unpacked it and fucking ate this beautiful peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then reached back and got another one and like did it again and kept like doing it, just like the way you'd eat potato chips and shit. And so eventually Big John was like, pass up the basket, let's have some sandwiches. And they passed up the basket and Judy's sandwiches, and my cousin Johnny was like, Kevin, 3-1. And I was cursed from that day forward in my family. They still talk about it to this day. My cousin Johnny works at the Secret Stash and will still bring it up all the time. He's like, Kev, remember when you ate all those sandwiches when we went to see The Land of Time Forgot? I said, yeah. So when we were putting this event up, we, it sold out very quickly. Thank you very much. But Johnny sent me a text going like, don't eat everyone's fucking sandwich. So tonight, I won't be eating everyone's sandwich. I'm checking. I'm just going to do a little backstage checking. How we doing? Liv is here apparently. Going to give us an update. It's Liv, everybody. Give it up for Liv. Isn't that funny? Go ahead, work it out.
Okay, cool. So they're just having a quick technical difficulty upstairs.
Into the mic as much as you can.
Yes, they're having a quick technical difficulty upstairs. In just a few minutes, Kev's gonna go off. We're gonna have like 3 to 5 minutes of just a dark screen. Head over to Moobys if you haven't already, and then we should have the movie up and running. So if you want to...
Liv speaks Australian, so I'll translate all of it. We have been having a bit of a technical difficulty. That's why we're starting a little bit late and whatnot, and they've been working on it while I've been sitting here doing the intro. But when I stop this, things are going to go dark for a few minutes as they try to reboot a thing and stuff like that. So more when we know. If everything goes right, we'll be watching Jay and Silent Bob Reboot very soon. If things don't go as right, I will come back and tell you more stories about how I ate everybody's food while I was growing up. Means the world. Thank you.
Moobys shirt with the Moobys face.
That's my cousin Johnny right there, beeping, going like, "Fucking tell him you're a sandwich hog." I can't thank you enough for coming out, man. It means the absolute world. 50 years old. I wish I can impart any wisdom that I have. Thank you. The only thing I've learned in 50 years is that fuck, it's good being Kevin Smith, and that has everything to do with you guys. So thank you for that. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be me professionally for a long, long time now. I was going to watch this movie last night because I love Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. It's my heart and soul on a platter. It's my heart on my sleeve and whatnot. And I watched it at every screening during the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow Tour, 65 cities, man. I was there watching it every night. Never lost interest in this flick. It's one of my favorites, if not my favorites of all the ones I've done. So I was gonna watch it yesterday because I'm like, I'm 50, man. No better way to celebrate than just falling back into the warm embrace of this movie. But I knew we were gonna watch it today, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch it in the car. I've never had this experience before. I don't think I've ever watched one of my movies from a car. My wife is here. We're in a drive-in. It could be amorous, but my kid is here, a separate car, so nothing's gonna fucking happen. We're literally gonna watch a movie, man. It's gonna be interesting. For those of you who don't have kids in the nearby area, let's our shake, kids.
Oh, God.
Yes. God, yes, you know what I'm talking about. All right, you guys ready to try this out? I'm going to abandon the mic for now. Hopefully, very, very soon, we'll be watching Jay and Silent Bob Reboot together, and then when it's over, I'll come back out, and of course, we'll Q&A into the wee hours. If things don't work out, I'll come back out here, and we'll just start talking regardless. For now, fingers crossed, I present to you in a few minutes, not right immediately, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here for my birthday, and I'll see you either at the end of the movie or in a few minutes.
The lights are.
That's what you mean, Matt.
I know, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Right on, man. That was enjoyable as fuck for me. I sat there watching the whole movie, and I might have smoked one or I might have smoked, and it was so fucking enjoyable. Fuck, man, that's a first in 50 years. I've never seen one of my movies at a drive-in and stuff, and so throughout the movie, asked Jen, I was irritating as fuck because I was like, that's the first time I've ever seen my mother on a drive-in screen. She's like, I know, bro, I know. You know, because the whole movie I kept doing it. So it was delightful. And everyone honking their horns and shit and flashing lights on the screen. That was fucking dope, man. In a world where we can't all be together and whatnot, that was pretty intense, pretty wonderful. Okay, so I asked people while the movie was going on, and you can still do it now. Before I jump into the Q&A, they told me to throw this message out there. Moobys, the good folks at Moobys, still making food, but they're closing in 30 minutes. So if anyone wants food, now's the time to grab it the next half hour. Give it up for the good folks at Moobys, man. I had a cow dong, it was amazing. Yes, Moobys, we're eating it. Such a great job. Okay, so I asked folks on Twitter while the movie was playing, and it still stands now. Just so that, you know, people who aren't here won't hit us with questions. I want to make sure we answer questions of folks that were here. Take a picture of the screen right now, whatever's up there, so that proves you're on the property. And then the hashtag is drive-in Moobys. S without an apostrophe. That's the hashtag. And we'll start grabbing the Q&A. It's weird to not be able to look at people and stuff, but I mean, I've been streaming at home for a while now, so I guess it's kind of along those lines.
Hashtag
but man, that was such a fucking rush. And thanks for packing the place, kids. It was absolutely delightful. All right, so way back like an hour ago, Dustin Schieler, is that you? Dustin Hockey Horn. Hey, he's real. He asked, what do you and Harley Quinn bond over? What's the secret to being a good dad? I'm not sure what the secret to being a good dad is. In terms of being the dad that I have been, I just always treated her like a person rather than a kid. Like, even though she was a kid, I would treat her like a little person as opposed to like talk down to her. I was to kind of talk to her and stuff. But, you know, it helped that genetically we're kind of close. Jennifer refers to Harley as many wonderful things as her mother, but one of my favorite is when she refers to Harley as my beardless, dickless twin. And that's very accurate. We're kind of cut from the same cloth. So that helped. As well, having a pretty decent relationship with the kid because we're on the same page in a lot of places. And when we're not on the same page, she'll eventually drag me to that same page, like veganism and stuff like that, which saved my life. I'm not putting it down. I don't want her to come over here and be like, fuck you, I saved your life. She did. She totally saved my life. Okay, but the other part of the question was, hold on, sorry, I clicked off.
Drive-in movies, not
movies
driving.
What do we bond over?
Movies,
you know, honestly, like, obviously we bond over veganism a lot over the course of the last 2.5 years. Because August,
I'll put two then.
what is it, August 26th marks the 2.5 year mark since I had a heart attack. So the veganism has been a big part of my life since then. So much so that we created a podcast together, or she created a podcast. I just kind of went along for the ride, called Vegan Abattoir. So we bond over that. We bond over goofy shit. Today, we get very emotional over the same silly shit. I'm working on Masters of the Universe, and I was looking at an animatic for episode 6, and there's this incredibly emotional sequence in it. And before we recorded our Vegan Abattoir podcast today, I was like, watch this for a second. And she like got sucked right into it, not even knowing the story or anything. And I was like, that's my fucking kid right there. So we bond over any number of things. We've been bonding over doing Sun and Lockdown with the whole family, with Austin and Jen and Nan and Pop and stuff. So that's been fun. It's been a nice bonding family project for everyone in the house and whatnot. And also a nice film school primer to kind of go back and go over the basics of filmmaking, because we've got a very limited crew. Thankfully, we got Josh and Liv and stuff. But missing everything else that we've had on sets for the last 2 decades, and
there have been weird moments of like, wait, is this eye line correct? I'm not even sure. We don't have like a continuity person, so like, what do we do? And like I would call Carol Banker, who was continuity on like Mallrats back in like 1995, and she was also on Dogma, but now she's a director. Like she's been directing like Titans and other CW shows and stuff. So I called her up while we were shooting. I was like, I mean, I know you're a director and stuff, but I have to ask you a continuity question. She's like, oh God, go ahead. I was like, the eye line we're trying to match right now, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to text you a photo. Can you tell me if it's accurate and whatnot? And I did, and she said back, she's like, no, you want to move the camera over to the other side of the table? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. You saved my ass. And she was like, I won't tell anyone that somebody who's been making movies for 25 years didn't know which way somebody should fucking look on a camera. and so it's been a nice primer for like filmmaking as well. Like just in terms of like, oh yeah, it's honestly the most bare bones I've shot since like fucking Clerks, and in that way it's kind of delightful. So we've been bonding over that, you know, I guess many things. Those are just some examples. Tonight we're bonding over this. She seemed to have a good time coming out to the drive-in. She went to a drive-in a few nights ago with Austin, closer to where we live, I think. No, further away from where we live, but not out here. And it wasn't a drive-in like this that's like made to be a drive-in. It was a place where they blew up a screen and called it a drive-in. But they went to see The Wedding Singer, and she comes back and she was just like, did you ever see a movie called The Wedding Singer? I was like, yeah, like fucking when it happened. Yeah, of course and stuff. She liked it very much. So we bonded over that. You know, we tend to like a lot of the same things. All right, so there we go, man. There's one question down. Let's jump over to this one right here. This is Allie Fritz. You there? Beep your horn. Oh my. Okay, she's everywhere. How awesome. We know she's real. She beeped the horn. Allie asked, what was it like directing Harley, particularly in her emotional scenes? She's so great. P.S. Happy birthday. Thank you. Number one. Number two, what is it, fucking Harley paying people to ask these questions? What was it like directing in the emotional scenes? Here, you can come on in if you want. She honestly, like with Jay and Silent Bob, Millie was written, I wouldn't say underwritten, but very like two-dimensional. She wasn't as fleshed out as me and Jay. And you know, I was always like, well, like Harley will figure it out when we get there. I'm sure she'll have things to do and stuff. So I didn't really have a plan for Millie. Like I wasn't even sure how she should sound. You know, I knew, and of course she'd have Harley's voice, but I didn't do a lot of prep work on her. And thankfully, like Harley did, she took it real seriously and showed up like ready, loaded for bear. I mean, to be fair, she had gone and done Once Upon a Time in Hollywood before our movie. So she was on Quentin's set before she came to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, which will instill confidence in any fucking performer, man. You know what I'm saying? Like she walked onto our set with just, yes, there you go. Walked onto our set with an air of just like, I fucking just came from a real director's set, motherfuckers. And so she was ready to go. And when we shot the first day, like we did the scene proper, kind of, we were shooting coverage and we shot her coverage and it was her and Alice together. And then at the end of the coverage, I was like, hey man, that was great. I'm just gonna go pick up some lines here and go back. Do me a favor, say this like this. And I like gave her a line reading. And you know, she kind of looked at me and then did it, and then we finished out the take. And I went and watched playback, and I was like, oh, that's great, man. We're good. We're moving on. And I look over, and Harley's sitting there, like, arms crossed. She's like, can I talk to you? And it was the scene, you know, we're out in the woods when the van comes along. So she pulls me into those fucking woods, and she was just like, you just gave me a line reading. And I was like, I did. And she was like, actors hate that. And I was like, I know. Well, you know, if I didn't give line readings, we might not have a movie. Jason loves it. So, you know, I'm very used to doing that. And she's like, you know, you just stole my dignity as an actor. You stole all my choices. I can't bring life to something if you're going to tell me how to say it. You told me to say it like I was a dog. You treated me like a dog. I was like, calm down, Meryl Streep. Like, fucking, it was just, we were moving through things briskly. That's all and whatnot. So first day, there was a little bit of tension. I went home that night and Jennifer was just like, how'd she do? And I was like, I think I think she's really good, but I think we're all making a comedy, and I feel like she's making a drama. And she's like, yeah? And I was like, yeah, I think she's like in a completely different movie from the rest of us. And she goes, does it work? I was like, I don't know, we'll see. But I said, at least you got a plan, so I'm gonna go with her fucking plan. By the end of day 2, like, it was clear to me that, like, oh my God, she knows exactly what the fuck she's doing. She's given a lot of thought. The kid, you know, was a Stella Adler trained kid, so she put a lot of inner life into the character, a lot more thinking about Millie than I had. And so she came to set like prepared. It wasn't like I pulled her to the side and I was like, let me tell you how to fucking act because, you know, Clerks. Like, no, she was giving me a fucking clinic on like, oh shit, like, look what she's doing. I mean, she was a secret weapon in many ways because like when she was working with Jay and there's some touchy-feely stuff, it never said in the script, Jay cries because like I might as well write Jay whips out a fucking 20-inch cock, and so, you know, just because I write it on a page, some shit is never gonna fucking happen. So I never wrote Jay cries because that's just something that's not in his quiver, so to speak. But what I hadn't taken into consideration was Jay has known Harley since Harley come out the chute, man. Like their whole life he's known her. He's got a real special bond with the kid. The kid grew up loving him and stuff. She used to carry around this little flatso pink elephant called Yay. That was her security blanket, and her whoopee, if you will. And you know, she called it Yay, and we never, you know, we were just like, what a fucking ridiculous, wonderful kid thing to say. How stupid. It wasn't until, you know, she could fucking speak English and shit, and she was just like, Jay, it's Jay. Like she called her elephant Jay. She couldn't say Jay, so she said Yay and shit. So she, you know, the two had always known each other. Like before we made the flick, you know, one day I rolled by her room and I was like, you know, I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but maybe you should like start hanging out with Jay and like, I don't know, studying him because you're gonna play his kid. And she's like, you don't think I've hung out with Jay long enough to get a fucking take on how to play his kid? I was like, good fucking point. So when she come to set, and they have that scene at Comic-Con where they're what I call the breakup scene, where, you know, she's like, well, I guess this is goodbye. And he gives her a joint and shit. That, like, Harley, you know, we went to shoot the scene that day, and, you know, I was like, all right, we're gonna do, you know, Jay's coverage first because, you know, Harley's got the heavy lifting. She's gonna get emotional. Jay doesn't have to do anything, so we'll shoot all Jay's coverage, and then we'll turn around and do Harley's coverage. We'll let Harley build up. That'll give Harley a chance to like work it all up and build up to it. And Harley was like, what are you talking about? She's like, what do you mean build up to it? Man, I don't need to build up. I'm an actress, motherfucker, and an actress will bring me. I was like, all right, fucking Nicole Kidman, calm down and shit. I was like, we're shooting him in this direction. Then we'll flip to you. It was only 2 shots and shit. I got to pick 50-50. We're going in that direction first, then we'll turn around and then you can get all emotional. All I'm saying is don't get emotional off camera. Save it for when we're, you know, you're on camera and we're shooting you. And she refused to do that. She gives the same performance off camera that she gave on camera. So, you know, she gives full emotions on both sides. So there she is, like, off camera, and we're shooting Jay's coverage. And Harley, you know, gets into the waterworks. She's real good at, like, turning on the fucking tears, man, which is, like, spellbinding to me. That's my favorite thing about acting. That's when I consider an actor or an actress, like, that's fucking acting. When they can, like, cry on command and shit like that. And my whole career, anytime I've ever talked to an actor or actress who could cry in something, like, I'm always like, wow, how do you do that, man? Like, Genesis Rodriguez came closest, like, when she explained, because she talked about, she was in a bunch of telenovelas, she had to cry like every fucking day. So she could cry on command, like instantly and shit. I was like, how do you fucking do that? And she's like, let's go to a really sad memory. And she's like, you could make me laugh and I could do it while I'm crying. And we did. Like, me and Jay were making her laugh, and she turned on the tears and cried through the laughter. It was the weirdest, creepiest thing I ever saw. But she was like, I gotta go to a fucking memory. Every actor or actress I've ever talked to is always like, I gotta go to like a fucking, you know, a sad memory, a real dark memory about my childhood and shit. So, like, you know, I'm watching my kid on my set just fucking roll tears like crazy, and I'm like, that's fucking dope and shit. But like, one day I just rolled up to her and I was like, kiddo, it's amazing how you could just cry on camera like that. That's like my favorite acting thing in the world. She's like, thanks. And I was like, kiddo, what did mom do to you as a child that like you're drawing upon to like, and she's like, you think I'm fucking drawing on a memory? She's like, I'm an actress, god damn it. She's like, Millie has her own fucking life. I put a lot of work. I was like, all right, fucking calm fuck down. We're done here. We're gonna move on and shit. So she's super fucking like real about it and shit. Even something as goofy as this movie. So there we are shooting Jay's coverage, and she's off camera. And as, you know, she's giving the off-camera performance, she starts getting emotional and she gets teary-eyed and crying and shit. And Jay is looking at Harley, who he's known since she was a kid, who's crying in front of him. And, you know, it's not like Jay's like, I'm Jay in the movie and this is Millie and this is how Jay would be feeling and shit. He's just looking at Harley get sad, and he starts getting fucking sad, man. Like, we were sitting behind the monitor. That was unplanned. We're sitting behind the monitor watching. I'm standing there, Jordan's sitting in the chair. I was standing there, and, you know, I was off camera with Jay. At first I was on camera with Jay, and then when the camera pushes in, I step off camera and I go watch from the monitor so I can direct the scene and shit. So we're both watching, because we're equally invested in fucking, you know, the business of Jason Mewes. And, you know, there he is doing a fine job, doing everything he's supposed to and shit. And then all of a sudden, fucking Harley's crying off camera, and Jason starts crying on camera. And, like, we both fucking lean forward and stare at the fucking screen, and I'm like, it's thinking, you know, because you can see fucking Jason processing and shit like that. And the tears started rolling. I was like, cha-ching. And, you know, I was like, holy fucking shit, man. After the take was done, I went over to like give Jason a hug and shit, and I was like, that was fucking amazing, man. He's like, oh, I want to talk about it. And he fucking stormed off set because he didn't like to be emotional in front of people and shit. Then I went over to Harley and I was like, let me tell you something, kiddo. I said, 25 years working with that man, I never got a performance out of him like you just fucking got out of Jason Mewes. And she goes, well, I did work with Quentin Tarantino and shit. So she brought the thunder to the movie. I didn't like have to do much directing when it came to Millie at all. You know, if anything, it was the George Lucas direction of like faster, more intense, or something like that. But yeah, thankfully, she came prepared. I love her in the movie. I love the character of Millie. I love Harley, of course, don't get me wrong, but I always like it when I watch the movie, even though I know everything that's gonna fucking happen and shit. Whenever I watch the movie, I'm like, oh, like I hope these two
choices you made in your project.
So lonely and shit. It's really sweet. Okay, Josh Waldrop, SoCal. Yeah, there he is. He says, any chance of seeing the first draft of Mallrats and/or version of Fletch 1 as a comic book? There's always a possibility, of course, but right now that's nowhere what I'm thinking. I started reading the old Fletch 1 script on Wake and Bake on That Kevin Smith Club. Right on, thank you. But in terms of the first draft of Mallrats, a lot of the first draft of the old Mallrats 2, if that's what we're talking about, that wound up in this movie. Like, you saw a bunch of Mallrats 2 if you watch Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, because the movie was Frankenstein put together by parts of old movies that I didn't get to make. So the beginning, the opening scene with the raid on Quick Stop, that was the opening of Clerks 3. The Clerks 3 that we'll never make. There's a different Clerks 3 that I'm working on that we will make, but the old one, that beginning was donated to Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. The entire third act of this movie, where they go to Chronicon, that was taken from a Mallrats 2 script, where the whole movie took place at the mall, and there was a Comic-Con at the mall. And there were terrorists that invaded there as well. But here in this movie, in Reboot, the Russian terrorists. In that movie, in Mallrats 2, Die Hard in the Mall, it was called, they were Canadian terrorists. And they weren't really, it turned out to be Mr. Svenning in disguise and shit. It was very convoluted. So that third act, including Iron Bob, came into Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Iron Bob was born in the Mallrats 2 script, and then I was like, man, I love it so much. Like, I hope nobody fucking does this joke, as if somebody was going to do an Iron Bob joke. And then I was able to put it in Reboot. It took me like 4 years to be able to tell that fucking joke. So yes, I hope that answers question of sort. It's always easier with like Q&A, where you got people in front of you. You can be like, did that do it? And they can tell you, fuck no, and then they re-ask the question. Thank you. Awesome. And how many COVID germs were spread to yell that out loud? Okay. Josh also said, just as a backup, will the Q&A from yesterday be made available on that Kevin Smith Club? Paid for it but couldn't watch it live. Absolutely. I believe Josh Roush, is it up there? No, you weren't in charge of that? No, it was Will. He's not here to ask. I'm pretty sure it is. It's going up onto that Kevin Smith Club in the Smithsonian screening room. So if you missed the thing yesterday, you can watch it. We did this stream yesterday, 50 years, 50 questions, just streaming with Kevin Smith. And there was a running bet in the house how long it would fucking take for me to answer 50 questions. A lot of people thought that it would be me running up until this evening's screening and shit. It turned out to be 5 hours. It took 5 hours, essentially. 10 questions an hour it rounded out to be, and we got to finish it. So yeah, you'll absolutely be able to watch it. Okay, Stardust, Riot Miss, you out there? Well, it's appropriate for the question. She said, what's your favorite strain of bud? So she must be stoned. But it's awesome to look at. This is the first time.
She has a wheat corn.
That's fucked up. I hadn't thought to look. How weird. That's neat. And I saw it on Twitter. Thanks to Twitter. What's my favorite strain of bud? Why, it's Snoogans, of course. Powered by Caviar Gold. Snoogans, Snoochie Boochies, and Berserker. Those are fans right there. That's what I was smoking through the screening. I was smoking the weed that's mentioned in the movie while watching the movie at a drive-in with the roof open. And at one point, Kevin Smith was in the movie. I was like, I'm fucking so baked. It was just the movie itself. So my favorite strain, but easily, I'm a sativa man mostly, but I'll smoke anything. I can process anything. But I love those. Those are key. That sativa I wake up with every morning, man. The Snoochie Boochies. It's like some CBD pump, powerful, wonderful stuff. And the Snoogans is just like, 4 of those will put me down. If I nail 4 of those into me, it'll take me out until the morning and stuff. Most people, it's like half of one, but I built up my tolerance. That's not me bragging and shit, but it is low grade, humble brag. Okay, the big Papa Matt, you out there, Matt? Oh my God, distantly. What meant more to you, having your voice in a Star Wars movie or becoming part of Marvel canon with Stan Lee and Captain Marvel? What a great question. Well, oh wow, fuck.
Yeah.
What a Sophie's choice. Here, the young Kevin Smith, hearing my voice a little bit. Although when I saw Force Awakens, I was like, was that me? I can't recall. Like at one point, I thought I was the guy that was like traitor, for a long time. And JJ was like, "You're not traitor." And I was like, "Oh, that would make sense." Seeing my name in the credits in blue, that was fucked up. That was like strange and wonderful. We saw the movie, Jen and I, when I was touring in Colorado. So we were in Boulder when it came out. It's Colorado. And it was right after the movie was done, we took off and shit. And we were going through the parking lot, heading to the car. It was like 2 a.m, so it was like a midnight screening. And she was like, what does that feel like? Like, seeing your name like in a Star Wars movie. And I was like, I just want to go back in time, and tell the kid who's going to see Star Wars that, one day you're gonna see your name in the credits in one of these movies, and that little kid would be like, I direct a Star Wars? And I'd have to be like, oh no, kid. Oh, they don't even let you near the Mandalorian. Like, what's that? And I'm like, Baby Yoda, but shh, don't tell anybody for you. So I loved doing that. That was awesome. But honestly, the one that's more meaningful to me was the Captain Marvel shout out with Stan. It was this bizarre full circle kind of moment. Number one, it was just like, I love those Marvel movies. I love Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, and always have. But those Marvel movies are my fucking soap operas. So to have, to see the Mallrats script in that movie, to see my name in a fucking Marvel movie, which means that I exist in the Marvel universe, which means we all exist in the Marvel universe, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Which means half of us were fucking snapped away. Thanks to the sacrifice of Tony Stark, we're back. who knows what we missed during
I
the
wish
blip.
we would have missed this fun this
You
year.
know, some of us younger. So seeing that moment was everything because it was Stan doing a cameo like he always does, but his cameo referenced the cameo he did with us, and in all the cameos he had done, you know, you never knew if he was Stan. That was literally Stan Lee reading a script that he was auditioning for. All of that was like crazy fucking emotional and wonderful, and also just like on a pure basic commercial level, like good for business. It meant I was like relevant for 2 seconds in a fucking Marvel movie where I'm like, woo, I'm not dead yet and shit like that. So that was all great, but the really wonderful thing, or the thing that I kind of dug the most, was when we put Stan in Mallrats in like 95, it was like me introducing him to a generation of people who wasn't familiar with him and going like, this is the guy that created fucking Spider-Man. Respect. And then fucking years later, that Captain Marvel thing was almost like Stan going, this is the guy that did fucking Mallrats. Respect. Like reintroducing me to a generation that never would have fucking heard of me. And maybe some of them go fall down the rabbit hole and go like, oh, Mallrats, I fucking like them. Oh, Stan Lee was in it. What's this other movie? Jay and Silent Bob, they're in how many movies? What the fuck? Which one should I stay away from? Yogo's a Jersey Girl? Got it. So, you know, the Stan one meant the world. It was, you know, and it was like one of the last, it was actually the last cameo that he shot, second to last that appeared in the movie and stuff. So, yeah, the Stan one is still, it gets me very fucking emotional. What was really awesome was when he popped up and everybody was honking their fucking horns. The old man would have loved that. Oh, he would have loved that. Okay. That's my Stan. JD Rob, 1984, you out there? A Dave in progress? There you are. What's your favorite hike you have gone on with Harley? Have I ever? I don't do much. I don't know if...
She's laughing.
I think that you can hear my kid cackling in the we don't really hike together very much. But I mean, you know, she's a Peloton kid, so she does she has a person on a screen that tells her to pedal harder and shit. I go out in the real world. Or you can come speak for yourself, I guess. But I don't. When I think of hiking, I don't really think of the kid. At the beginning of this quarantine, at one point I was hiking with my friend, and Harley was mad at me that my friend had come out and over to the house because she was on lockdown. Kind of comes from because she got all mad. She was like, "We have to protect Nan and Bob." That became Harley's character in Sun and Lockdown. So I was hiking with my friend, like up our street, up our giant hill, and Harley was hiking with Austin down. And she passed us, and I was like, you know, I went, hi. And she fucking gave me the cold shoulder and didn't say a word. The literal silent treatment and shit. I was like, I fucking you lived in my balls once. So when I think of hiking, I don't think of like me and the kid. Hiking is a solo thing. I generally don't tend to go with people because I'm not a pretty sight. I go with the dog. Shecky doesn't judge. She's just fucking happy to be out in the world for part of it, and then in a certain part of the walk she's like, I'm fucking 15, do the math, and she don't want to walk no more. And sometimes I carry her and shit, which makes me feel like Jesus, like a picture of Jesus that my grandmother had in her house where he had a lamb over his shoulders, because I've done that with Shecky. She's long enough to drape around you like a shawl or some such shit. So I've had to carry her, and I put her around my neck and stuff, and it always makes me feel Christ-like. Aberland, Anna Borland, you out there? I'm gonna take that horn to be yes and not just somebody on the freeway. I wanted to know how it felt to have so many friends and family members in the movie with you. Were Millie's sidekicks Harley's friend or band? What a great question. They were not. That would have been an interesting choice. I don't know if her band her band was up and running because there's a song in the movie. But Aparna and Harley were friends. That's how I wrote Aparna into the movie. I was like, oh shit. I knew her from Harley and I thought she was really funny. And then we found Alice and Trishelle while we were cast in the movie. But how does it feel to have so many friends and family members in the flick with you? that feels like business as usual. That's been one of my favorite things to do in the movie business, is like bring everybody along. Somebody was interviewing me the other day, and they were talking about like why do you do that? And I'm like, why wouldn't I? Not like asking in a shitty way, but they're like, where did that come from? And I was always like, well, like, you know, if you're gonna devote your life to something, like, wouldn't it be nice to be surrounded by like people you like being around? And you know, in most work environments, you're kind of thrown into it. When you're hired by somebody, you're forced to like work with somebody you've never worked with before and stuff like that. I always felt like, well, like, let me work with people that I know very well, because I know exactly what they could do, and why not elevate my friends before I go elevating like strangers and stuff, people I think are wonderful and talented and have something to say as well. Family members too. You know, like it never occurred to me to like quote unquote leave those folks behind. That's how I got here in the first place. I'm the sum total of all the people I hung out with. Would have made no sense to like cut Brian and Walter free and be like, oh, those are dudes that I just knew when I was a child. Like, that's how I became me. Like, hanging out with Walter. You know, when most people go, oh, what do you know about Kevin Smith? They're like, oh, comics, and like he wears hockey jerseys, or used to, and shit. He likes hockey and comics. I know that. And he made a movie and shit. Like, hockey and comics come right out of Walter. That's who you know. You know Walter Flanagan more than you know Kevin Smith. Those are two things that I kind of absorbed from Walter. And my sense of humor was always there, but like Brian made it much sharper and much darker and edgier and stuff. And then Jason, you know, the influence of Jason, somebody who can say some of the like weirdest things, foulest things, and have them be so pure and unoffensive and shit, because he's a guy without a moral barometer. He's a true American original. Somebody I'd never met before, somebody that I know a lot of people hadn't met before, and yet we're crazily familiar with. Because my whole life, you know, since Clerks came out, for 26 years, think about Jason, people say is, I know somebody just like him. Oh my God, I know somebody just like him and stuff. So there's a weird identity factor to him as well. But like, imagine if I had left Jason behind. Where the fuck would I be? This movie wouldn't exist. And you know, to be fair, he willed this movie into existence. Like the whole time we've been doing Jay and Silent Bob Get Old on the road, he was always like, why don't we do another Jay and Silent Bob movie, man? How come we only did one? Let's make another one. I was like, I'm fucking shocked we got away with one. Like, you know, I'm barely a director, you're barely an actor, and they gave us a whole fucking movie to play. So let's be happy it happened once, and we'll just move on with our lives. But, you know, all the touring that we've done, all the audiences being full and people like asking about it, asking the same thing he would ask about you guys. That made it happen. That made it manifest. That wouldn't have happened without Jason. Jason literally is Jay of Jay and Silent Bob. There wouldn't have been an Silent Bob were it not for a Jay. And Jay is very much, well, was very much like his character and stuff. So made no sense to leave anybody behind. Made more sense to bring them with. That's what I love about the podcast. It allowed me to showcase people that I fucking think are wonderful. Like, here's Brian and Wall, here's fucking Moj, here's Jay, here's Ralph, you know, so forth and so on. So I love when I watch the movie. It's like, you know, if you ever seen Tim Burton's Big Fish, where at the end, like, Albert Finney is carried through his whole fucking life and stuff, and he sees everybody that mattered and everybody we heard about and met throughout the story and stuff. That was what making this movie was like. Every day was like the last 10 minutes of fucking Big Fish, where I'm like, oh, it's you. Oh my God, we had an adventure together. Oh my God, remember when we did this? Holy shit. And in many cases in this movie, we were literally gathered to do the exact same thing. Like, Diedrich Bader was like, God, this is fucking weird. And I'm like, I know, same outfit, same everything, same lines and shit. One biggest regret, and I watched this movie on tour like for 4 or 5 months when we were out in the world with the movie and stuff. You know, I love it. I have no regrets about the flick, but you watch it enough, particularly with audiences, and you realize, shit, this missed opportunity, that missed opportunity. Like, every time I watch the movie, I'm so mad that, like, you know, I love his delivery of at the end of the Keith Coogan scene where Diedrich goes, that's hilarious. But I just wish to God I'd been smart enough to be like, right before we left, Diedrich, just say like, oh, what a lovely tea party. You know, just call that fucking back. Every night that I watched the movie, I was like, how the fuck didn't I do that? But regardless, never mind the mistakes. The joy was the fact that I do look up there and see like everybody. You know, it's nice to see like new people and stuff. Like it kills me whenever Hemsworth shows up. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? But you know, seeing everybody, like Matt and Ben came in at the last minute. They weren't written into the movie. I didn't think they would ever be back and shit. And bam, they slid in as well. So, you know, that brought Joey in. By bringing Ben in, I was able to bring Joey back as well. And it became old home week, even more so. So it was bliss, man. I mean, honestly, like, I'll never have as great a time making that movie. And it's not to say, like, we didn't work. We didn't have enough time. We didn't have enough budget. So we were always fucking running and gunning. But pure joy, because I loved what we were getting. You know, everything that you see up on that screen is not compromised. That's a guy that's like happy. That's me going, oh, that's exactly what I was fucking looking for. So it was just a great experience. Oh, I love that movie. That's why I could sit there and fucking watch it with y'all and stuff, and not just show up at like 11 o'clock to do the Q&A. Okay. Trav Adair, you out there? Travis Hayward, there he is. Who would you choose to be the voice of Jarvis for Iron Bob? That's a genius question. Travis says his choice, Alan Rickman. What a great fucking choice.
George Carlin.
Travis, where were you when we were casting this fucker? God damn it, I could have used your help. That's an answer I'm never going to be able to top. It's such a great answer. But in a world where we couldn't get Alan to do it, who would one get? Neil Gaiman.
Ooh, that's good too.
That's a great one.
I thought I might get some fucking witness on that. All right, WNR Miami. I heard a distant horn. I must say yes. Out of everything you've done in your career, it'd be amazing if it was just somebody passing by on the freeway. Out of everything you've done in your career, what's the thing you've done that you're the most proud of?
Inflatable Oogie.
And I don't know if it's like most proud, but it's the one that I'm like, ta-da! Like they're all little magic tricks, right? Everything to some degree. But the weirdest fucked up magic trick is Tusk. That's the one where I'm always like, you know, like there are a lot of, thank you. There's a bunch of shit that I've made that other people could have made and replicated and even done a better job doing and stuff. But like Tusk, quite like Clerks, Tusk was never going to exist unless like I willed it into existence and stuff. So, you know, Clerks at least makes more sense. It's conventional storytelling, you know, independent style, but it's still kind of conventional storytelling. And it takes place in the real world, and you know, I worked at a convenience store, so it made sense. Tusk makes no fucking sense. Like, it's not like, well, I happen to work at this walrus enclave, so we got to shoot there for free. Like, all of it was just going to be like, you gotta want this badly because it shouldn't be. This thing should not be. So that one is the one that I think like I'm oddly proudest of. You know, that feels like a real magic trick. And the one that also feels like, who the fuck's ever gonna replicate that? You know, like, you know, Clerks being a workplace comedy, we've all seen it replicated many times since, and I was replicating a formula that had existed prior to me. So, but the Walrus movie, like, it's not like, oh, it's one of those.
Yeah.
No, that one will kind of stand alone for some time. So that one is kind of special to me. All right, let's check this one out. Samanowski X. Salmon, going for it. They got a picture of the screen. Kevin, what's your favorite vegan food meal? Also, what wisdom can you impart to us after your life-changing experience a few years ago? Thanks for the opportunity to get to celebrate your 50th birthday. Happy birthday. Thank you. Okay, two-parter. What is your favorite vegan food meal? I'm a Beyond Burger whore. I'll like suck your dick for a Beyond Burger. They should use that as the ad slogan. Put it on the package. I'll suck your dick for a Beyond Burger. Thumbs up. You know, people are like, who is that? Like, that's Kevin James, the King of Queens. That's my favorite. Now, a lot of people say that's not fucking. It's definitely vegan. It's not clean vegan. Perhaps like it's dirty vegan. It's made from pea protein. They fuck with the pea protein and shit. But, you know I should say something responsible, like, oh, Brussels sprouts, but I fucking hate vegetables, man. If you can take a vegetable and make it taste like a burger, you've got my respect. So I love that Beyond Burger, man. And so what wisdom can you impart after your life-changing experience? Let's see. Well,
Who?
Tara.
Oh.
That's why she.
Go vegan, just by virtue of the fact that, like, I was able to drop a bunch of weight, made me healthier and shit. They allowed me to cut my cholesterol-cutting drugs that I have to be on for the rest of my life in half and stuff. And also better for you, also better for the environment, better for animals and stuff. The one big benefit that, like, nobody ever talks about is I'm fucking 50, and, like, because I went vegan 2.5 years ago, like, I just look younger. That's what I get from a lot of people, like, fucking, what happened to you, Dorian Gray? And it's like, that's the nearest I can think. I don't do anything. I don't put on any fucking lotions. I don't, like, lay under a fucking light or anything like that. I'll be honest with you, I'm like one of the, I don't want to give you the wrong impression, like, he's fucking filthy, but I never wash my face. Like, even when I get my makeup done and shit like that, I go to sleep in the makeup. So it's not like I fucking try to overly take care of myself. The only difference in my life was, like, I went vegan, dropped weight, and that gave me the appearance of looking younger. So if you're one of those people like me who's fucking 50 or older and you're like, I want to fucking look younger, the nearest thing I found that works in this world was going vegan. Okay. Rena B. Be well? You know, I can get used to this. It was pretty good. That's not, it's nice when we have people in front of us, but this is interesting too. Happy birthday, she says. Have you ever been embarrassed the shit out of Harley Quinn? She seems to take being your daughter in stride. Embarrassing stories to tell. Have I ever embarrassed the shit out of her? Oh, I thought you were asking, like, has she ever embarrassed me? I'm like, no. Have I ever embarrassed her? I'm certain she would have an opinion on that. If she wants to join me and step in, she totally can. She's like, I can't. I'm too embarrassed. But I can't. None leaps to mind. I don't live to, like, do that to the kid. She's it's adorable though. She really does think I'm kind of full of myself. She used to make what I thought were jokes about how into myself I am, and then I've realized lately that they're not really jokes as much as that's her beeping, going, yeah, they aren't jokes, man. She's like, no, you're in it. One time she said to me, she was like, Dad, you wear shirts with your face on it. And I was like, I don't do that because I'm full of myself. I do that because, like, before I can ask somebody to buy one of these goofy shirts, I should be able to wear it myself. No? And she was like, yeah, right. That's a convenient marketing excuse. So she really does, like, think that I don't think my shit stinks. I know my shit stinks. The internet reminds me all the time and stuff. But I am a huge Kevin Smith fan. She does have that right. Let's see. Another photo. Austin, I know this kid. He's got a Twitter. Holy shit. Now I can't fucking put up those tweets anymore fucking on Twitter about my wife. What's your favorite thing about Austin? He says. Be honest.
That's fucking funny. Have you watched that YouTube series? It's pretty good.
Let's see. My favorite thing about Austin. Here. One of my favorite things about Austin is how well he treats my daughter. He actually, stop fucking beep. He's beeping for himself. I can't express it if you hunk over me. He honestly seems like into everything she says and talks about. I've always tried to be interested in everything she's been into, but and for most of her life I hope I've lived up to it, but there are times when she's talking and telling me about her life and her goals that I'm thinking I gotta get back to Kevin Smith kind of shit, and I just listen and stuff. I watch him listen to her, and he, like, is rapt. His attention is rapt, as if she hung the moon, as if everything she is saying is necessary information vital for living, as if she is a reborn prophet that only he knows has been given back to us for this amount of time, so he should listen to every fucking word that comes out of her mouth. That's kind of sweet, man. That was one of the first things I noticed, and I said to Jennifer, I was just like, he listens to everything she says. He's, like, very attentive and stuff. So there you go, Austin. Hopefully, yes. And hopefully for my 21-year-old daughter's sake, he's just as attentive in the bedroom. Moving on. Moving on. Oh my God, he put the question up there 20 times. Bro, you're fucking sticking up my Twitter feed. You're trolling me. Let's see what else we got here. Eli Gregg, you there? He's all the way over there. What's your favorite 80s movie? And can you do this drive-in thing again? This was fun. Did you have a good time? That is awesome to hear. Dan, thank you for that. That's very sweet. But before we dive into the answer, the big hero moment comes for Josh. There was almost no movie tonight, and this is something we gotta give credit for. And you'll never hear any other filmmaker say this, particularly like the Chris Nolans of this world. And I take nothing away. I think he's a genius as well. But thank God for a torrent site, because if we had not illegally downloaded this movie, we would not have been able to watch a movie tonight, man. So
that's awesome.
Giving credit where credit's due, man. Bootlegs.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right. What is my favorite 80s movie? Shit. Hands down, Valley Girl. I watch it frequently. I watch it multiple times a year still. I listen to the soundtrack on a near regular basis. It's become my hiking soundtrack lately. I love that movie. I was literally just thinking about it as I was getting dressed to come here tonight, because I was going, why the fuck do you like it so much? And because I was listening to the soundtrack yet again for the no bullshit, like 10,000th time in my lifetime. I've been listening to it since the movie came out in the 80s. And I think now, back then, it was because it was a idyllic, romanticized version of like falling in love. So that was before I ever fell in love. And you watch two people do it in a movie, and you're like, "Fuck, is that what it's supposed to be like?" And this is awesome. It's now I don't watch it through that prism, because I fucking fell in love, and it's like way better than that movie. So like Jennifer is better than Valley Girl in real life. But watching Valley Girl makes me now feel like younger. Like if I'm listening to the soundtrack, most music is, like a touchstone to your age. When you hear a song, you kind of transported back to when you first heard it, whatever era it's from. So when I listen to Valley Girl, it makes me feel young. Even when I'm a 50-year-old man, I'm like, yeah, man, there's still time. And so there's something kind of soothing to it. But I absolutely fucking love that movie, and Nicolas Cage's performance is fucking beyond reality. So fucking wonderful. Still holds up like today, to this day. And one of the few times that like I was captured by an actor, but based on one performance, where I was like, I'm gonna see everything this fucking person does. Another person was Michael Parks. When I saw him in From Dusk Till Dawn, I was like, I'm gonna see everything this fucking person does. So Nick Cage and Parks were like right neck and neck for me in terms of that. So I love that movie. Also, of course, all the John Hughes stuff, don't get me wrong, very important. Strange Brew, Bob and Doug McKenzie. Without them, we don't get to Jay and Silent Bob. So those are a bunch. Let's see. No. I hit that. All right, Eli, Sugar Key Oob. That's awesome. What is the hidden gem in the reboot? The thing that you're damn proud of that most wouldn't have noticed? Oh my God, what a great question. What is the thing I'm most proud of that I see in the movie that I'm like, nobody fucking would ever notice that? I don't even want to tell you the first thing that comes to mind, because my kid is here and she'll be like, I fucking knew it. But like every Kevin Smith flourish and performance, like I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. You got to realize, think about it. Every other actor I direct, I could get within, 98% of what I had in my head or something like that. But it will never be perfect, because I hear something completely different, or even if they get close, it's still through a different filter. With me as the actor, I can literally get everything I want perfectly. So then whenever I watch the movie, this is so gross to admit, but I'm 50, fuck it. I am transfixed by my own performance because I'm like, that fucking dude's doing everything I want him to do. So, don't fucking share that with people. So I do. That's one of my favorite things. So when I watch the movie, I'm like, oh, that's fucking dope. That's fucking dope. In this movie, the thing that like delights me, and it got a decent reaction, but it never got the reaction that like in fact, it never gets a reaction, but it still makes me fucking laugh. This is the absolute, what I feel is the most unappreciated moment in the movie. We're both on stage. It's Silent Bob, but he's dressed as Kevin Smith with a long ponytail, and he's next to Millie. Millie is inviting Shan Yu up onto the stage, and Millie goes, all the way from China. And if you look at Silent Bob, there's two people in the frame. You're gonna look at the person who's talking, and that's Millie. So while Millie's going all the way from China, Silent Bob goes. And when I fucking did it on set, it made me laugh, and I went back and watched it on Video Assist, and the kid watched it with me, and we were cracking up like all fucking day long and stuff. So I kept it in the movie, and naturally, it's just a joke that a girl and her dad find funny. So nobody ever fucking sees the moment, but every time I see it, it fucking cracks me up. And I was sitting in the car watching the movie with Jen, and it happened, and I laughed, and she goes, "What's so funny?" So even the person I fucking bed on a nightly basis doesn't find that moment fucking nearly as endearing as I did as well. So there it is. That one, that's the most, to me, unheralded, unsung Motus. Happy birthday. Oh, Meg, Necromance, you out there?
Yeah.
That's gotta be Necromance. In recent Smodcast episodes, you've been reading old emo Kev writings. I have.
Yep.
I was wondering if you've ever considered making the story of your journey from emo Kev to the guy that made Clerks, and if you didn't make it yourself, who would you want to tell that's your story? What a great question. We've been working on that show for like the last 6 months. We go pitch it soon. I shouldn't say anything fucking more. Josh is going like behind the camera. Yeah, it's so weird you say that because we have been working on that for a little while, and we're going to be heading out into the world with it. Me and Andy McElfresh and a gentleman by the name of Bob Daly have put quite some time into it. I'm so bad. Yeah, all right, I'll stop. Josh is going like this. Yeah. So look for information of that soon. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna pick up the phone before I get in trouble because people are fucking going, stop fucking telling things. Monica 1LB. Thank you for the pity beep. Happy birthday, she says. How would your 10-year-old self react to where you are now? What a great question. Can I grab a drink? Yeah, can somebody crack it open and shit? How would the 10-year-old person react to me now? Like fucking nuts, thank you. I didn't have much, ooh, that's harsh. I didn't have, much in the way of like at age 10 I was like, I'm gonna grow up to be this and shit. I hadn't seen Saturday Night Live as a possibility. That was my dream when I was a kid, man. By the time I got to high school, I was like, I want to write for Saturday Night Live. So I was like 14, 15. So my 10-year-old self didn't even have that. No thing to look to and stuff. 10-year-old self was probably just like, I wonder if I'll ever be kissed or something like that, because I was very romantic. So to show that kid where we go, the places we go and stuff, and it winds up here. Like, it winds up like, people know your fucking name. Not only do they know your name, we were driving here and motherfuckers just look over and they're like, because the hat or whatever the fuck. And people don't, if they don't know your name, they know who the fuck you are. Like, I think the 10-year-old me would be like baffled and dazzled by how well known that I am. For I hesitate to use the term, thank you, famous, because that sounds so fucking weird. But like, that would be crazy to of everything. It would all be fucking nuts. I'm sure he'd be like, what? I have a daughter? We get laid? Oof, what? Like, sex? Like, he hadn't even kissed at that point. So, I got to imagine all of it would fucking be a mind fuck for him and stuff. But that there is an audience, that there are fans. You know, I remember growing up in Jersey, it wasn't like, you know, we went to New York very often, so I didn't see fan experiences or something like that, like standing outside of a Broadway show or going to see like a late night show or something. But I remember when they opened up like the Toys R Us, they opened up, wrap it up, is that right? Wrap it up, all right. I remember I went to they opened up a Toys R Us in Eatontown. And they, you know, announced the stars of fucking Star Wars are going to be there. And it was Darth Vader, Chewbacca, and a Stormtrooper. You know, so the outfits look pretty good. But, you know, it probably wasn't David Prowse. It probably wasn't Peter Mayhew and stuff. But, you know, it was just, they were in Star Wars. So, it is a toy store, so you expect there's going to be a bit of a crowd and shit. But the place was fucking packed, man. And people, like, gathered to see, like, not even the real stars of Star Wars, like, you know, people wearing cosplay, essentially. And you know, that was like,
Yeah, no kidding.
let me see, it was 1978, so I'm 8 years old. And the impression that it makes is like, wow, these people are famous. You know, we didn't have the internet, of course, and we didn't have cable TV, so it wasn't like you could see coverage of fucking events and see fans going nuts and stuff. I saw it in person at a Toys R Us for the fucking fake stars of Star Wars and shit. And I was like, it gets no more famous than this. And there was one day over the course of like the Jay and Silent Bob Reboot Roadshow tour where Jay and I were coming into the place, and you know, we'd intro every show and then go backstage, and he would go play Fortnite, and I would go up into the balcony or some place behind the screen sometimes and just watch the movie every night. But there was one screening that we were coming out of, and before he went his way and I went my way, he was just like, that was the biggest crowd I've ever seen. And I was like, that reminded me of when they opened the Toys R Us. And Jason, who I was not hanging out with at that age, instantly goes, the one when Darth Vader was there? And I was like, yes, bitch, yes, because that was as famous as it fucking got where we came from and stuff. So I think 10-year-old me would be blown away to see that the same size crowd that showed up for the stars of Star Wars at the opening of Toys R Us, like, would come to an event like this, would come to like any of the shows I've done, come to the tour. You guys are awesome. All right,
Here it is, Wes.
let's do a couple more and then we'll sail off into that good night. It's almost midnight. I was gonna say my birthday's almost over. It fucking ended yesterday. Let's see. Nanas 88-1.
Nope. Nanas.
Delayed reaction. What was your biggest inspiration for writing your book? For writing Tough Shit? This is going to be, let me see. Well, I'm 50, so all honesty now. The inspiration for Tough Shit came in a moment of panic after the Sundance, where I stood up on stage and I was like, fuck everybody, we're gonna take this movie out and we're gonna tour it ourselves and shit like that. What I didn't realize was by doing the Red State tour, I was giving up my touring for the year. And I was used to like going to an evening with Kevin Smith and shit, and that was like my real bread and butter. Movies are nice and shit, but like standing on a stage and just talking about making movies, way better for me, way more lucrative, to be honest with you. So I was like, you know, we're going to take this Red State movie out on tour because now I know I've got an audience that we could go from city to city. And I was giving all the profits of the tour to the movie. And then I realized one day that meant that I wasn't going to have any income for a good half year because all of the income was being given to the movie. So I was like, oh my God, we're going to fucking starve. Like and I called up my agent, Phil Raskin, And I was like, you have to get me a fucking job. I never do this because I'm always generating my own work and stuff. But I was like, now more than ever, I need a fucking agent. I've never needed an agent before. I need an agent. You gotta find me some fucking work. Otherwise, I'm gonna fucking starve because I said I'm giving all the money to the Red State Tour and I can't go back on my word now, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right. So he found me 2 gigs. One was with Telepictures. This wonderful dude named Jim Petroni, was that his last name? Jim worked at Telepictures. He was responsible for the Ellen DeGeneres show. He was the one that was like, she's funny. What if she had a daytime talk show? And so he liked me and he'd seen one of the shows and he was like, I think you could do a TV show. And we were talking about doing a late night show called Tonightly, which we shot a few years ago, a pilot and stuff. Never came to pass. Didn't go anywhere. So Tonightly was one of the jobs that Phil got me. The other job was, he was like, I got somebody on the book side says that like they got a book offer for you. And it was a healthy, substantial offer to write tough shit. And I had been trying to put together a different book, a book called Sminspiration, because I've been writing some blogs called Sminspiration and just putting up these blogs. And so that's what I was looking forward to making, but instead it became this tough shit book instead. The title kind of came more from the publisher. The title, they didn't like Sminspiration. They're like, that seems real inside baseball. And so we came up with multiple suggestions, and all their suggestions were kind of like meant to be rough around the edges. And I was like, can't we just call it tough shit? And they're like, oh my God, yes, we'll just take the I out. So as much as I love writing tough shit, like it's a memoir essentially, and I probably wouldn't have written a memoir that early in my career, but I had to, because I was like, if I don't fucking work, we're gonna starve this year and stuff. So I wound up writing a memoir / self-help book, which I absolutely love, but it came from a desperate place. It didn't even come from like, I think I'll write a book because I'd love to. The other books that I'd written came from blogs that I put up online, and they just collected the material. Silent Bob Speaks was a collection of magazine articles I wrote. My Boring Ass Life was a collection of blogs that I had written and stuff. So Tough Shit was the first book that I actually sat down to like, all right, this is a book that's its own thing. It's never been pre-published or anything like that. But it came out of need more than anything else. That's some honest shit, man. You got a real fucking honest answer out of me. Let's see. Sharon Reeder? I'm beginning to think it's just people going like, if nobody beeps, I'm beeping. What is the best compliment you've received from your wife? Harley. I mean, technically, she compliments me, and vice versa. Bonus question, what is the best compliment you've received from your daughter? Let me see, what is the best compliment I've received from either? The Jen was actually like complimenting the fuck out of me watching the movie. She's like, you're so clever. And then I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I realized she's got that weed spray, you know, like just put it in and you're so clever, you know. So I got a lot of how clever I was tonight. What was the best compliment I ever received from the kids? She wrote me a beautiful letter once for Christmas, for Christmas. That's like framed in my office. That was like a rave review of me as a dad. But I can't think of any specific line that she ever said that I'm like, oh my God, the fucking thing she said made all the difference and stuff. She's always been genuinely appreciative and always seems like she genuinely likes me, which I've always been happy about. Like, you know, I liked my dad, but like I had to like my dad. And, you know, I liked him. Not liked him, but, you know, I liked him, but I always felt more like we were of a generation that you had to like your parents. Kind of wanted to give Harley the option to choose, right? I always hoped she'd like choose to like me. And when she was a kid, you know, she loved us both as parents, but like, oh, she fucking adored Jennifer. Like, you know, Jennifer like hung the moon and fucking mom, and, you know, I'm always a distant afterthought. And, you know, I used to say to Jen, I was like, enjoy it, because one day she's going to grow up and she's going to figure out what I do, and then she might be more interested in me. And she did grow up and wound up, like, in my world, which made me, like, delighted and stuff. Because, you know, having the kid like me meant something. I mean, obviously being liked is a fucking problem, an issue with me. That's why I'm in entertainment, for Christ's sakes. But like, it was important that the kid liked me, and more importantly, it was important that she choose to like me and not be like, oh, of course I like him, he's my father. I did that. You know, I was part of that generation. It was fine, but I was kind of hoping for something a little more, you know, with our kid, with like, you know, maybe we could have a different kind of relationship. You know, I love my father to death, but he's a fucking mystery to me now, even, you know, as much time as I spent with him in life, and he passed away in 2003, so like 17 years ago. So, you know, when I was 33 years old. You know, it was a bunch I don't know about him and why he made the decisions he made and shit like that. He's kind of a private person. I've always been like super open with her to a fault, obviously, and to a place where she's like, I don't give a shit, stop talking. But at least it gave her a choice to, you know, like me, rather than like, you better fucking like me because I brought you into this world and shit. And it feels like it works like that. We don't talk about it, obviously, which is usually a good sign that it's fucking working. But I guess we might talk about it after this, as I've just talked about it so publicly. All right, let me grab another one, and then we're gonna send you kids home. Jose Valley 27, you out there? Love that. Hey Kev, how would you ask your crush to be your girlfriend? Very specific question, Jose. What's going on in your car? Also, a shout out to Delilah Coca would make her world. Delilah, hey there, Delilah. How would you ask your crush to be your girlfriend? I'd take her to a Kevin Smith movie for starters, man.
The fuckers put their chairs out and
Then,
listen to
without
instructions.
the help of a Cameo account, I would have a fucking Z-grade celebrity ask that girl if she would go out with you. So let's try it. Delilah, Jose is he's like, no, that's my sister. I don't know if this is the case, but I think Jose is interested in you being yours crush. I think he wants to date you. I can vouch for him. He writes a real sweet tweet. And those horns, that has to mean something. I'm not saying you gotta spend your life with him, but give him a chance, for heaven's sakes, man. Just a little taste of Jose. That's the best I could do, Jose. Hopefully that works out for you. Okay, let's see. Preds fan Ann Pierce. It feels like that Stephen King movie, The Mist. You just keep hearing like horrible and shit. There it is. Don't go out. We can't go out in the mist. Thank you for telling us who put the gum in the locks. Man, I appreciate that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I did not write that into the script. It was something that like I pulled out of my ass on the day. But I knew that I wanted to do. I knew that I would be able to throw that out there. And I knew like if it works, if the joke lands, this will be our little Marvel PS moment and stuff. And I told Jay, you know, when we were shooting the scene, I was like, we're gonna do this when the crane gets real fucking hot, because we did it in a wide and then we did it in a close too. I was like, just, you know, go say this thing. And he was just like, oh, you're fucking kidding me. And I was like, yeah. And he's going, did we do that? And I was like, what, are you asking me, did we do that in Clerks? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, the locks had gum in them in Clerks. He's like, and that was us? And I was like, that's what I'm saying. He's like, but did we do that? And I was like, we did now. Are you asking, did we actually put gum in the locks when I worked at Quick Stop? And he was just like, I just can't remember. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like, what else do you got? You're Jay for a living. What do you mean you don't fucking remember? I was like, no, it's a reference to the fact that all these years, like, fucking, it'd be us. And he's like, once again, like, very rarely does this happen, because he's awesome. He thinks everything I do is wonderful. That's why we're friends. But every once in a while, something I do or write really fucking captures his imagination. And he gives me the highest compliment. He goes, that's fucking clever, son. And so he said that about that moment.
That's fucking clever.
Just Baked Podcast, you out there? Yes, you are. How'd you get Kilmer to put on the cowl for the epic callback? we got so fucking lucky, man. So lucky. I had received a text, oddly enough, from a dude who was like, I'm Val Kilmer's manager. He's going to be in New Orleans with his Mark Twain show. He would love for you to come on out and see it. And so, you know, I said, get out of here. I said, yeah, I mean, I guess. I said, but we're kind of busy shooting a movie and stuff. And he goes, well, how about I give you his email address and you can email him directly. And so I said, okay. And so he gave me an address and I in my text, and I clicked on it, brought me the email, wrote him an email. And I was like, hi, you know, if this is Val Kilmer, this is Kevin Smith, I made this movie, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm a huge fan of Real Genius, like your character is a role model of mine forever and stuff. So like, I'm a massive fan of course, Doc Holliday and stuff. So he wrote back, and he wrote back this incredibly eloquent letter. He's a very eloquent writer and stuff, very flowery, fun to read shit. And he was incredibly complimentary and stuff like that. And so I wrote to him, we were going back and forth, and I said, look, we're making this movie right now, and we got a bunch of cameos. Like, do you think you would want to pop by while you're in New Orleans and do a cameo with us? And he wrote back, he's like, I would love to do that. He's going, but I don't know if you've been following the news, but I've had some health issues, and so, you know, I don't have the use of my voice. He goes, perhaps, though, I could play some poor cousin to Silent Bob. And I wrote back, oh, shit. And I was like, I could do you one better. In the movie, there's a movie, a Blunt Man and Chronic movie. You could play Blunt Man in the Blunt Man and Chronic movie. And he wrote back, it was adorable. He goes, oh my God, that would be so funny. Do you know I played Batman once? And I wrote back, I think I remember reading that. So he came out to play, man, and he put on like that version of the cowl that we had, and was wonderful. It was an absolute fucking blast. He was tuckered because he'd just come from another surgery and stuff, but like soldiered through. At one point I was like, you know what, I got everything I need and stuff, and he was like, he has to write on a pad most times to communicate and stuff. So he was like, no, I want to hit every beat. So we stayed until we got every beat, man. It was such a soldier, such a good guy, and like legit wonderful that he came out to play with us. And you know, gave us another Batman in the movie. Got a couple Batmans in that fucking movie. 3, if I remember correctly, right?
Uno mas.
All right. Let's see. My God, there's a lot of questions from Austin Zager. Just ask me at home, dude. Let's see. I'm doing a refresh. This is, oh my, what's this?
That's you.
Spam Musubi?
No, because he did a
23?
refresh, so he went all the way up to back up to the beginning.
Says, happy birthday. Can you say hi to my kids real quick? They were Jay and Silent Bob this past Halloween. And let me see, I believe these might be pictures right here. Let's see if you can catch that.
No one cares.
Likeness right there. Grand wishes. There you are. There they are. I can't see you. There's lights behind me. We're making dreams come true here at the Paramount Drive-In, ladies and gentlemen. I'm getting a red flag on my phone because, as we see, it's 10 after 12 and stuff. So at this point, I'm going to stop and ask y'all, have you got a good time this evening, ladies and gentlemen? If you enjoyed yourself, I am not the person to thank. I'm honored to be here, delighted. My ego is salved. I feel like I'm relevant because there's a bunch of people here watching my movie and stuff. So I benefit from this. But people worked hard to put it together. Derek at Moobys, this was something he insisted happen. Give it up for Derek at Moobys, man. They are still open for, he extended till the end of August. They were going to close, but he's like, people like it so much, they're still rolling for another month. So if you get a chance, roll on in, or order at moobiespodup.com. You can send it anywhere in the United States. You can get it up Postmates if you're in the LA area and stuff. But Derek worked hard to make this happen, as did Jordan, as always, working hard to make it happen. Give it up for Jordan Monsanto, ladies and gentlemen.
Jordan was at the shop. When we were
Once
choosing the
again,
backpack.
he's got the eyeball on me. Without him, you don't see me and stuff here in that Kevin Smith Club on Sun and Lockdown, which we shoot the very last Sun and Lockdown tomorrow. Tomorrow night we start shooting, man. Without this guy, you don't see me. Give it up for Josh Roush, ladies and gentlemen. And give it up for Livy Roush, ladies and gentlemen, the Australian in the bunch. Give it up for Chelsea and Julian and Luke, ladies and gentlemen, the Smodco team. Give it up for my one and only daughter, ladies and gentlemen, Harley Quinn Smith. Give it up for the only person in this world goodly enough to fuck me on a regular basis, Jennifer Schwalba. And he can't be here because he's taking care of his little kid right now, but he'll hear us if we beep real hard. Give it up for Mr. Jason Mewes. Thank you for coming out, man. I'm always going to remember my 50th birthday, even though we were very socially distant from one another. You're right here in my heart, man. Thank you for coming out to Paramount Drive-In. Drive carefully going home, ladies and gentlemen. Masks on. Keep your hands washed. We'll see you very soon for Hollywood Babylon, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, everybody!
Yeah. Want to throw all these sauces away?
Yeah. Oh, we...